the Trump administration has a very special relationship with the Chabad cult, as does Javier Milei, who is basically a member of it and I think is converting to Judaism and was recently honored by Chabad in Miami. But here's Trump and Howard Lutnick paying homage to Rabbi Schneerson during back in October. They're making a pilgrimage to Schneerson. I've never seen an American president do this. And this is like a cult-like figure. They believe he's the Messiah who will come back to earth and establish a holy reign, and who believes the Gentiles are subhuman. That's Howard Lutnick from Cantor Fitzgerald to Trump's right. I mean, this is like something out of an anti-Semitic fantasy. And who believes the Gentiles are subhuman. That's Howard Lutnick from Cantor Fitzgerald to Trump's right.
You invited us back this year, and Howard, I know that you got a goal of 12 million today. You were telling me that the volatility is good, and that's good for a day like today, so that you can raise more money and give more to charity.
Right. So our company loves volatility. So the busier it is, a little chaos, a little excitement, that creates volume. And so, you know, Fridays can be a little quiet. So we're really excited that it's been volatile. It's got keeping the markets up and exciting. And so far, we're running really, really neck and neck to last year. So hopefully we can get that. Hello, I'm Howard Lutnick, the chairman and chief executive of Cantor Fitzgerald. Many of you may remember, but Cantor Fitzgerald was located on the 101st to the 105th floors of the World Trade Center. We lost 658 of our 960 New York-based employees that fateful day. I lost my brother Gary, he was 36. I lost so many of my friends and colleagues. The 9/11 Memorial Museum has done an incredible job, both remembering those that I loved, but also telling the story. Now, the 9/11 Memorial Museum has the ability to convene, and one of them I find most incredible is their Summit on Security. They bring together government officials, executives, people who think about the issues of security in a way that is deeper and more thoughtful. The Summit on Security also brings forward lots of the lessons that were learned after 9/11. So I would encourage you to come to the summit, and I think you'll find it incredibly, incredibly helpful.
The Duchess of York said the item was discovered by a volunteer, Brian Van Flandern, who found the rag doll amongst the rubble following the September 11 terror attacks that killed 996 people. Little Red was in Charity's office located on the 101st floor of the World Trade Center's North Tower when a group of extremists hijacked and crashed two planes into the Twin Towers during the 9/11 attacks. Sarah told the BBC, "Because our office is on the 101st floor, Little Red always sat on the window looking over New York and over the United States as I imagine she did, because she is a little red rag doll, standing at about 12 inches. On the day of the terrible disaster, she was found in the rubble by a fireman who put her in his helmet and carried her out. Because I was so worried they would think that a child was lost or buried in the rubble. So I said no, it's not a child's doll, it's Little Red, and she is a symbol for chances for children." Miraculously, Little Red was found in relatively good condition, despite the horrific attack, becoming a world-renowned symbol at the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. Little Red has red yarn hair and was wearing a red gingham dress with a white collar and black shoes. The Duchess of York added, "And it was quite incredible now, because I take her everywhere with me." And I show her, and I say, look, we can all rise up from the rubble, we can all go forward. We must dream, we must allow our children to dream. And we must give our children the chance to a healthy and happy lifestyle by continuing our fight to get children off the streets or children who are suffering from AIDS or drug addictions.
In the year 2000, Donald, you considered running for president. If you had done that and if you had been successful, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
Well, I'd be taking a very, very tough line, Alan. I mean, most people feel they know at least approximately the group of people that did this and where they are. But, boy, would you have to take a hard line on this. This just can't be tolerated, and it's got to be very, very stern. This is, as you and I were discussing before, Alan, this was probably worse than Pearl Harbor. Many more people are dead, and they don't know, they have no idea, but I have somebody that was down there who witnessed at least 10 people jumping out of the building from 70 and 80 stories up in the air. I mean, you probably have 25 or 30,000 is the number I've heard, but I would think would be much more than that. I think the most of the damage will be caused not by even in the building in terms of the people dead, but by the people on the streets from falling debris.
Donald, you're probably the best known builder, particularly of great buildings in the city. There's a great deal of question about whether or not the damage and the ultimate destruction of the buildings was caused by the airplanes, by architectural defect, or possibly by bombs or aftershocks. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it was an architectural defect. The World Trade Center was always known as a very, very strong building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation.
And you were actually a witness to what happened this morning.
Well, I have a window that looks directly at the World Trade Center, and I saw this huge explosion. I was with a group of people, and I really couldn't even believe it. And even, I think, worse than that, for years I've looked right directly at the building. I'd see the Empire State Building in the foreground and the World Trade Center in the background, and now I'm looking at absolutely nothing. It's just gone, and it's just hard to believe.
Donald Allen Moore.
There can be only one.
1536 brings victory to the Clan MacLeod. MacLeod! Victory to MacLeod!
Remember, you fight with God on your side, Connor.
The Clan MacLeod is one of the oldest and most famous Scottish clans, with a rich and storied history that spans over 1,000 years. While the MacLeods are a single clan, there are two distinct branches of the clan, the MacLeods of Lewis and the MacLeods of Harris. These two branches have separate chiefs, and have their own distinct territories, traditions, and cultural identities. The MacLeods of Lewis are based in the Isle of Lewis, which is part of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. This branch of the MacLeod clan traces its origins back to Laud, the son of Olaf the Black, who was a Norwegian prince and the progenitor of the MacLeod clan. The MacLeods of Lewis were known for their seafaring prowess, and they controlled the western seas of Scotland, including the Hebrides and the Isle of Skye. The MacLeods of Harris, on the other hand, are based in the Isle of Harris, which is also part of the Outer Hebrides. This branch of the MacLeod clan traces its origins back to Tormod, a younger son of Laud. The MacLeods of Harris were known for their prowess on land, and they controlled the lands of Harris, Uist, and the mainland of Scotland. Despite being two separate branches of the same clan, the MacLeods of Lewis and the MacLeods of Harris have a strong bond and often worked together. They would often support each other in times of war, and their shared history and heritage meant that they had a deep sense of loyalty and affection for one another. Despite the strong bond and deep sense of loyalty between the two branches, there have been conflicts between the MacLeods of Lewis and the MacLeods of Harris throughout their history. One of the most notable conflicts was a dispute over the chiefship of the MacLeod clan in the late 17th century. The MacLeods of Harris claimed the right to be the chief of the clan, while the MacLeods of Lewis disputed this claim. This dispute caused a rift between the two branches, and the conflict was only resolved when the MacLeods of Lewis agreed to recognize the MacLeods of Harris as the chief of the clan. Another conflict between the two branches was over territory. The MacLeods of Lewis and the MacLeods of Harris each controlled different territories, and there were sometimes disputes over land and resources. These disputes could be resolved peacefully, but there were also instances where violence was used to resolve these conflicts. One of the most notable differences between the two branches is their respective tartans. The MacLeods of Lewis have a tartan that features predominantly blue and green stripes, while the MacLeods of Harris have a tartan that features predominantly red and green stripes. These tartans are a symbol of each branch's unique identity and heritage, and are still worn by members of the MacLeod clan. The MacLeods of Lewis and the MacLeods of Harris are two distinct branches of the Scottish clan MacLeod, each with their own rich history, traditions, and cultural identity.